Australian made and owned, Hi-Tech Oils is one of the largest oil blenders in Australia with a truly national profile, supplying an extensive range of oils, coolant, grease, batteries and much more for all businesses and consumer needs. Choose Hi-Tech Oils for peace of mind.
On today's show, we head to Winton Motor Raceway in the heart of Victoria's Kelly Country, where the big rigs of Australian motor racing get ready for another round of on-track warfare with round 3 of the Australian Super Truck Nationals. Then we head over to Switzerland and to the city of Bern, where the FIA Formula E Championship heads towards its dramatic conclusion with round 11, the Swiss E-Prix. This is Speedweek.
Welcome to the nation's action track, Winton Motor Raceway, for round number 3 of the 2019 Australian Super Truck Nationals, presented by Coburg Truck Parts this weekend. A very tight championship contest in the Super Trucks. Gary O'Brien, as many as 5 different drivers in contention for the title.
Well, the big shock, of course, now is that Steve Zammit is out.
Indeed, had some engine problems, unfortunately, in practice, and he will not make the grid. The 6-time Australian Super Truck champion, forced to watch the weekend from the sidelines. This is a really good field of trucks. Some other very good drivers who will be well and truly in contention for race victories.
Yeah, Shannon Smith leads the way at the moment from Robbie Fern and Marcus Pruitt. And you've got to say at this stage that it's between those three.
Shannon Smith's had a really good start to the season, but Robbie Fern was very fast in the opening round at Wakefield Park. Marcus Prilwitz has been really consistent. Barry Butwell's had some mechanical problems, but he's also had some race victories. So all to play for as we get ready for the big rigs to hit the track here at Winton.
We had a little bit of a mishap on Friday morning, and the engines decided to let us down for the weekend, so it's stuck on that tilt tray, mate. So there's nothing much we could do about it. The block actually broke at the main cap, and it grabbed the crankshaft. So it's game over for us for the weekend, and probably for the championship rundown for Shannon. So it's just the way it's going to be. Look, I know the guys always want to beat you on track. They don't like to see the thing on the trailer and win it. So, you know, it's one of those things. You know, they're just going to have to battle it out without me, and we'll just see how we go. I know Barry took out the pole position in race 1 yesterday, so he's on a hunt down, and we were sort of tied on points coming into it. So, you know, it's up to Baz now to run Shannon down. He's got a couple of hard competitors in between him and the leader too. So it's going to be quite a tight weekend of racing here.
Oh, well, Stephen's out from SRZ, you know, which is a big impact because he's my main competitor. But there's still some tough competitors out there. Shannon's very good, and there's Fernie, and they're coming along, and so it's still not going to be easy. The championship at the moment is Shannon's, but it's his to lose. I could take it from him, but we'll see how we go. He's a tough competitor, like I said.
Yeah, Fernie's there too. His truck's going pretty well at the moment, so it's three of us are up there fighting over it. But it'll, like I say, interesting today will be whether it's going to sort everything out.
Oh, it's terrible actually, because I want all the competitors out there. You don't want to win with some competitors missing. And Steve and I have been racing against for more years than I care to remember, and I'm very sad that he's actually not out there, and we tried everything to get his truck actually going. Oh, well, we've done a little bit of homework on a few modifications on all the big mods that we've done last year, and we're still doing a bit of fine-tuning, but we're slowly getting there.
Well, Steve's out of it, and that's sort of changed the whole dynamic, because you expect Steve to finish up the front. With him not there, it's going to be who knows what. Ultimately, I always just hope that it drives back on the trailer. Other than that, I've put some. I managed to scrounge up some injectors at marginally higher volume, so about 5% more fuel. So hopefully that'll give me a bit more of an edge, or some edge. If I can keep up with the fast trucks, I'll be a happy man.
Getting set for the trucks to hit the track for the second race of the weekend at Winton. Race number 1 was taken out by Barry Butwell. Big news, as we covered off though, the fact that Stephen Zammit had some catastrophic engine problems in practice, and he has been sidelined for the entire weekend. Not good for his championship chances, but a good field of trucks. 10 entries for the weekend and still 9 big rigs lining up for race number 2, Gary.
Yeah, this grid will, of course, formed off the back of the results out of race 1, and of course Frank Amoroso came across the line in 4th spot behind Fern, Smith and Butwell, who was the winner, as you mentioned. But then we've got Lockie Byrne, Marcus Pruitt, Mark Schultz in his second outing, and Tringali, of course. New name this weekend and a new team, Harvey Dale at the wheel of the number 231 Isuzu.
Good to see another Isuzu light truck in the field, and it will be shared by a number of young guns. The points will be awarded to the team rather than to the individual drivers, but we'll see Harvey Dale being joined in that truck by Mitchell Prilwitz and also Riley Fern. So good to see a new team on the grid.
Yeah, it looks like Shannon Smith at the back there coming around well behind this grid, so he's going to have to do it the hard way from the back of the field.
And he was due to start this race from the front row of the grid as well, our championship leader. So a lot of hard work ahead of Shannon Smith. We'll have plenty of onboard cameras to cover all of the action for you, including in the cockpit of one of the Isuzus, Mark Schutz, who has made a full-time campaign in the Australian Super Truck Championship this year. You can see that the circuit's quite damp and quite breezy, so it'll be tricky conditions for these Super Truck pilots to have to deal with for this second race of the weekend. Here's your grid positions: Barry Butwell and Shannon Smith on the front row, Robbie Fern and Frank Amoroso on row number 2, Lachlan Fern, the best of the Isuzus, ahead of Marcus Prilwitz, and then it's Mark Schutz ahead of Anthony Tringali and Harvey Dale on debut in the category this weekend, rounding out our 9-truck field.
I see that Shannon Smith has tagged onto the back of the grid, so he won't lose that much out of it in the first charge to open this account for it today.
We know that these trucks slide around enough in dry weather conditions. How are they going to go on a damp track here at Winton Motor Raceway? We're about to find out. 6 laps the race distance for race number 2, round number 3, the Australian Super Truck Nationals, and Mark Schutz already getting sideways on the run up to the start line as he tried to get power to the ground. Barry Butwell takes the lead ahead of Frank Amoroso. Anthony Tringali having a look down on the inside of Lachlan Fern. And there you can see Shannon Smith in the number 60 truck, the ex-John Bob Burley truck, already starting to work his way up through the field. He's already passed those Isuzus.
That takes him up to about P5, but he's got a bit of a margin to make up to get near these two out in front, where it's Butwell in front from Amoroso in second, Pruitt's in third position, not far behind them.
Frank Amoroso looking competitive. He's always enjoyed the wet weather, and he's always gone well whenever it started raining, Frank Amoroso. When he won his first championship back in 2014, he had to contend with some wet weather that weekend. He loves getting the tail out, putting on a show for the crowd. These conditions are going to suit Frank Amoroso to a T.
Yeah, I think he lost a little bit out of that one, Lockie, going up to turn 6 on that occasion. It got a little bit too sideways. We've seen from on board that Butwell also had the tail out, but he's managed to pull a bit of a gap.
Go on board with Shannon Smith, who continues his march forward through the field, but there's not going to be any space to go anywhere here on the back straight because there's trucks running too wide ahead of him. That's Robbie Fern and Marcus Prilwitz still side by side as they head into the S's, turns 8, 9 and 10 to complete this opening lap. Fern was trying to hang tough on the outside of Prilwitz, but Prilwitz had the third line for the next right-hander as Amoroso gets mega crossed up coming out of the final corner.
He doesn't lose his spot though. Prilwitz, what an excellent move to go around the outside into the beginning of the S's and hold sway. tape or something hanging off the side of Shannon Smith's truck as well.
Bit of loose bodywork, but nothing that'll affect the performance too much, you wouldn't think. And it just shows that Shannon Smith's probably got his elbows out of it on the opening lap.
I dare say they'll all get pretty loose by the end of the day, Lockie. We go back on board Marcus Prilwitz's Mac as we see out the back as he watches, well, he doesn't watch. In his rear vision mirror we can see that Fern is trying to hold Smith out for position 4.
Marcus Prilwitz, another driver who seems to be enjoying these damp conditions aboard his Max Superliner, which, unlike a lot of the trucks that he's racing against, is driven through a 10-speed, fully manual Road Ranger gearbox. Most of the other trucks run automatic transmissions, and in a normal race car running an automatic gearbox, you'd probably think that it's a disadvantage. In a big truck, it's actually a bit of an advantage running the auto transmission because it means you don't lose any momentum when you change up through the gears.
Yeah, it looks like he lost a little bit of momentum coming out of that top turn too, because Fern was looking to get past, and now we have it, as he gets a bit loose in the middle of that S and brings the Mac back out on the straight. Still in P3, Fern 4, Smith looking to get past him out of 5.
What this has done though, all of this battling for position, is it's handed a comprehensive lead to Barry Butwell, who's out in front of this motor race. Had a really difficult start to the season, Gary, with all sorts of mechanical problems at Wakefield Park, including a jammed throttle. He needs to keep taking these race wins to get himself back into championship contention. He's doing the best job that he possibly can at the moment.
We basically need to win every race, doesn't he, from here on in, if he's going to be a threat to the front runners in the championship at this stage. And Shannon Smith also will be aiming to get further up the field. He can't get past Fern at the moment. It's easy enough to catch trucks, but it's always harder to get round them.
Good to see these drivers who are relatively new to super truck racing continuing to improve. Shannon Smith, first race in 2014 when he bought that truck from John Bomberley. Robbie Fern made his debut a year later. That's the ex-John Falk truck that he's racing. Both of these drivers, as they've gained more experience, they just keep improving, moving further towards the front of the field. Robbie Fern got his first round win at Wakefield Park. Shannon Smith currently leads this championship. We ride on board with the Robbie Fern Volvo. He's in behind Marcus Prilwitz as they negotiate their way through turns 8, 9 and 10.
Well, as you can see, Butler well and truly out of the picture at this stage. He's so far in front he could almost stamp it in a different postcode, what these guys are doing. And now we've got a move going on. We're inside Robbie Fern's truck and we can see a little bit of Shannon Smith poking through and finally gets the job done.
I reckon there was contact between those two trucks on the exit of the final corner because you could see Robbie Fern wrestling with a fistful of opposite lock. He had that truck almost on the lock stop, so let's check out the replay as they come out of the last corner. It was actually Fern getting a bit sideways. Shannon Smith, bang! He saw the opportunity to get up the inside. There was only just enough space there, but big, heavy contact between the two trucks. And we've got a wheel now has parted company with one of the vehicles by the looks of it.
Yeah, I wonder where that one's come from, but it might have been off Fern, maybe. We'll have to wait and see because certainly nothing wrong with Butwell's Mac at the moment. He's just cruising away.
All of the trucks that started this race are still out there running along okay at the moment, so whatever the story was with that loose wheel, it doesn't seem to have affected anybody's performance too much at this stage. But what a performance from Barry Butwell. He has opened up a commanding lead over the rest of the field. You can see the gap there back to Frank Amoroso, and then Prilwitz and Shannon Smith, who are all battling over what will be second position as we go on board with Robbie Fern, and he is headed pit side in the number 23 Volvo. So I think your observation was correct there, Gary. It was Robbie Fern who lost the wheel, and that is game over for one of our title contenders as we see Shannon Smith muscling his way up the inside of Marcus Prilwitz, who gets forced off the track at turn 1.
Well, that's a shame for Marcus Prilwitz. He was in a good position to pick up a top 3 position then, but you really can't blame Shannon Smith for that. He was a little bit out of control, I guess, and the contact was inevitable.
I agree with you. I think it was just a racing incident between Robbie Fern and Shannon Smith, and unfortunately Robbie Fern is the one who's come off second best. Obviously not ideal chalking up a DNF when you're in the thick of the title fight. Look at Shannon Smith. He's now closed in onto the back of Frank Amoroso. in the battle for second position. The track's still very crazy, and Shannon Smith exploring and exceeding the limits of adhesion as they head through turns 5 and 6.
You've got to say that Shannon Smith's certainly got some good gear under him, and that could be courtesy of a total engine rebuild, outer chassis rebuild that they undertook before this meeting.
You can tell that things are starting to get a bit serious in the championship contest when drivers and the teams are going away and doing developments and improvements to their trucks in between rounds. And Shannon Smith, he's the championship leader at the moment. He wants to give himself the best possible opportunity of contending for the title. He's got yellow flags waving on the circuit at the moment, but Shannon Smith is right on the tail of Frank Amoroso as they begin their 6th and final lap.
Maybe it's debris from whatever happened down at that last corner earlier in the race, but at the moment Shannon Smith looking for a way past Frank Amoroso, and Frank Amoroso's been around this game a long time, and everyone will tell you he's one of the hardest to pass. You
can tell by the moisture that's appearing on the windscreen of Shannon Smith's truck that it is still sprinkling out there, so the track will still be very greasy for these drivers to contend with. Not many overtaking opportunities left to go. They run through the top end complex. Amoroso gets it sideways coming out of turn number 5. Shannon Smith looks to the outside. You can see the front wheel locked up as they negotiate their way through turn 6. There's contact and Amoroso gets rotated.
Well, that's one way to get around him, I guess, is to have contact, but Frank was pretty well out of control anyway, wasn't he?
They were both well and truly beyond the grip threshold there as we see Amoroso negotiating his way back onto the circuit behind Marcus Prilwitz. Rain falling once again here at Winton Motor Raceway, but Barry Butwell, what a classy performance it's been for the Max Superliner driver. He will pick up his 2nd race victory of the weekend in race number 2 at Winton Motor Raceway.
Certainly put his championship back on track, you may as well say. There goes Shannon Smith across the line in 2nd position. Marcus Prilwitz will pick up 3rd, and Frank Amoroso, for all the exuberance, will be 4th.
And in the context of the championship, that's a very important 2nd place for Shannon Smith after having to start down the order and work his way through the field. He's picked up a nice bundle of points. Anthony Tringali in the International Transstar making his way up to the finish line. He was involved in the thick of the action, battling it out with some of the Isuzu drivers. Speaking of the Isuzu drivers, the light truck class, the best of those will be Lachlan Fern in the number 32 entry. He will come home in 5th position outright.
Mark Schultz there on board with our cameras, and he's certainly getting used to the game, you might say, and here comes the joint effort team, the number 231 Young Guns Racing Isuzu across the line.
And for the Young Guns, just a good opportunity for them to learn what these trucks are like to drive. Obviously big heavy vehicles that do demand a fair bit of truck control and not easy conditions for those young tackers to have to learn in, but congratulations to Barry Butwell, a big race victory, valuable points in the bag, and he claws his way back into title contention.
There are our official results of race 2 at round number 3. Barry Butwell the winner, Shannon Smith in 2nd, Marcus Prilwitz 3rd, then it's Frank Amoroso, Anthony Tringali, Lockie Fern in the 1st of the Isuzu, Mark Schultz, Harvey Dale and Robbie Fern, our only non-finisher.
Yeah, well, we had the opportunity. I mean, Shannon missed the start. He should have been up beside me and would have been a fair bit more interesting, but I was lucky enough to get a break at the start, and that was it. Get away and then just cruise around, so it was good.
Yeah, we had a few mechanical issues. We got them sorted out, and just waiting in the grid there to grid up. But the trucks out early for some reason. We missed our spot in 2nd. We were supposed to start, so finished in 2nd. I suppose it's a consolation.
Yeah, it was interesting from start to finish. Shannon gave me a bit of a nudge. I left the door open and he came through it. Pushed, sent me wide ahead of it was a turn 1, and I was lucky enough actually to have got that position back, because I think he and Frank came to grief. I'll be honest, I didn't see it. All I saw was Frank off the track, so I was lucky enough to make the most of it.
I went round, slid out sideways, and we were all sort of sliding there, but I went out a fair way, and I glanced in the mirror and saw Shannon out sideways, so I thought, beauty, we're both going together, but he kind of straightened up a bit quick on me and drove straight into the side of me.
It was a bit of work. track being so wet and the truck being light, just understeer he has, and just couldn't get around some of the corners, especially the really wet ones. So a bit of a learning curve, but now I've got the feel of it. Hopefully go out again and improve from that.
Definitely a baptism of fire for young Harvey Dale in his Australian Super Truck racing debut. But he'll be back out on the circuit, as will all of the other competitors, as we get set for race 3, which is coming up after the break. The big crowd has flocked to Winton Motor Raceway to enjoy some truck racing action, but the entertainment's not just on the track, it's off the track as well. Some beautifully presented trucks turning out for a truck show and shine display.
And not only that as well, Lockie, they're on track and all brought to the spectators there at Winton Motor Raceway through Kilmore Tyre Right, Seymour Tyre Right and GT Tyres.
Some of the iconic truck brands from Australia and all around the world, and a display of both old and new trucks, and they even got to turn some laps around the track as well, which was pretty cool. And you can see that there's a big variety. There's dump trucks, there's trucks with semi-trailers, big prime movers. What a great opportunity, what a great way to spend the weekend at Winton Motor Raceway. Unfortunately, that's the only laps of Winton that Stephen Zammit's truck's going to do this weekend. Great shame that his truck has to get paraded around on the back of the tow truck.
Good jumping castle there for the kiddies as well, we've seen in the background. So plenty to do when you come out to watch truck racing at either Winton Motor Raceway or Wakefield Park, where we'll have the last round.
And a big thank you to Tyre Right for sponsoring that truck demonstration, as well as supporting the Australian Super Truck Nationals. We're getting set now for race number 3, and we reverse the grid from the finishing positions for race 2 to give us our starting order for this third race of the weekend.
Well, as you can see, the little Isuzus at the front of the field, and I wonder if the young guns are up there as well. That'll be a flood of fire if they have to come out and face this lot.
Once again, we'll have plenty of onboard truck cameras to take you through all of the action. There's Mark Schutz with one of the Isuzus, Lachlan Fern in there, so too Anthony Tringali. Looks like the young guns truck is not actually out there at the moment. There it is down the back. So it might be because of their lack of experience that they've decided to start at the back of the field.
Yeah, Mitchell Pruitt's at the wheel of that for this event.
Here is your grid. So Mark Schutz and Lachlan Fern on the front row, Anthony Tringali and Frank Amoroso on row 2. Then we go back to Marcus Prilwitz and Shannon Smith. And our race 1 and 2 winner, Barry Butwell, starting out of position number 7.
There's our pole sitter, Mark Schultz. Only his second race meeting, but he's had a couple of races under his belt and is finding his way very well in this Isuzu SPR.
One of the things about the Isuzus is because they are a bit lighter in the damp conditions, not actually as much weight over the rear wheels, so traction can be an issue, but the track a lot dry this time around as we get set for race number 3. Good start from Mark Schutz. He'll lead them through turn 1. Frank Amoroso immediately down on the inside of Anthony Tringali. Robbie Fern there in towards the back of the pack, tucking in behind Barry Butwell, who looks to go down the inside of Marcus Prilwitz as they head out of turn number 2. They're going to go 3 wide on the run to the sweeper, and big contact between Anthony Tringali and Barry Butwell. Both of those trucks go firing off the racetrack. Big damage to the side of Marcus Prilwitz's number 31 truck, and a big cloud of smoke there as well. Our 4 race leaders have all managed to escape unscathed up the road, but absolute pandemonium towards the rear of the field in race number 3 for the Super Trucks here at Winton.
There's Tringali looking on. Is he trying to get going? It looks like the bonnet's off that. Thumbs up to Marcus Prilwitz. Looked like there was the incident between those two initially, and Barry Butwell may have just been an innocent party, although he and Prilwitz were quite close together at the time.
And the red flag has come out as a result of that incident. I think the reason that Anthony Tringali was giving the thumbs up to Marcus Prilwitz was to let him know that he was physically okay. That's a good thing. What's not such a good thing is the amount of damage that's been sustained to some of those trucks, and the red flag, as you mentioned, is now out, so the race will be brought to a halt. Let's go through some replays to try and ascertain and analyse exactly what happened in that incident. So this is one of the good things about having so many on-camera angles. So we're on board with Shannon Smith, and he goes down the inside of Marcus Prilwitz. So Prilwitz gets into the back of Tringali, and then it's a squeeze. So they're trying to run 3 wide, and it's the ricochet effect that causes Tringali to get turned into the path of Butwell, and then the chaos and the carnage just gets worse and worse after that.
Here's from the other side, from Robbie Fern's truck. We watch it all unfold in front of him. And again, you can see there's just not enough room for 3 trucks at that stage, is there? And as a result, you can see that Tringali certainly come out the worst of it. Fern very lucky to go down the inside.
Big thumbs up to Robbie Fern. That was fantastic evasive action for him not to get caught up in that incident. This is what it looks like on board with Anthony Tringali in the International Transstar. Bang! Gets turned hard into the side of Barry Butwell's Max Superliner.
He got hit pretty hard, didn't he? I just wondered too, Prilwitz really had nowhere else to go apart from probably getting on the anchors and pulling out of it altogether. Now we've got the Butwell angle.
Oh, Barry Butwell was very unlucky to get caught up in that incident because he was just on the right-hand side of the track, basically minding his own business, and it was the contretemps between Prilwitz and Tringali that set off the chain reaction.
So here's Prilwitz. So Prilwitz would have known Butwell was there, and basically, I dare say he didn't really have a lot of places he could go. So I wonder he would have just seen there the thumbs up from Tringali just at the end of that. So we've got a restart on our hands now, and we've lost a couple of trucks as a result.
So we'll go back to racing once again. Great job from the officials to get all of that damage cleaned up, and unbelievably, Anthony Tringali is back out there. So despite the fact that it was such a hefty impact, obviously the damage to Tringali's International Transstar wasn't too bad because he's been able to rejoin the race, which is testimony to just how strong these trucks are.
Yeah, so he will have to find his way through the field. Although after that sort of an incident, you might be happy to stay right out of it for the moment as we see our 2 Isuzus head the field around for the restart of this race.
Barry Butwell has also rejoined, but just having a look in the background there, he's well behind the rest of the field.
And so Prilwitz is there as well.
Yeah, so clearly some issues for those guys. It's Lachlan Fern who gets the better of the start this time, starting from the outside of the front row. He grabs the lead ahead of his fellow Isuzu racer Mark Schutz. Here comes Frank Amoroso. Nice exit from turn number 2. He'll go up on the outside of Mark Schutz and cleanly gets that move completed before they head into the sweeper at turn 3.
Big difference between the big trucks and the Isuzu is their rate of acceleration, and we can see that when they get to the back straight. You'll see that out of the corners the big trucks are just so much quicker to get up to their prescribed top speed, whereas the Isuzus, as you mentioned before, if there's still a bit of moisture, which I doubt now, it looks fairly good out there, that they would lose traction and wouldn't be able to hold the power down as well as the big trucks.
And a big reason for that difference in acceleration is the difference in engine capacity. The light trucks, the Isuzus, have got 6-litre engines. Sounds pretty big, doesn't it? But not when you compare it to the 14-litre motor that's in Frank Amoroso's Kenworth, for example.
Yeah, you wouldn't like to be carrying that around on your back. And we got one off the road there. Is that Lockie Fern off the track?
Indeed it is, from the race lead as well. So Frank Amoroso goes through to take the top spot. A mistake there for young Lachlan Fern. He slots back into second position. Shannon Smith once again moving his way up inside the top 3, just ahead of Robbie Fern in the Volvo. And then it's a gap back to Marcus Prilwitz, who has managed to get ahead of Mark Schutz.
So after their initial dramas, i.e. with Robbie Fern having the drama in the earlier race, kept his nose clean in this one and could pick up some valuable points. But Butwell, we've just got to wait and see whether he can make further progress after 2 wins.
Here's a replay of what happened to Lachlan Fern, and you would have to say there, Gary, that he's just come into the braking zone for turn number 8. A bit too hot, wasn't able to get the truck turned in. You could see him winding on more steering lock, but because he was carrying a bit too much speed, the understeer kicked in, and that's what caused him to go sliding off the racetrack.
And if you don't know what understeer is, folks, that's what it is. See the truck with the wheels turned in one direction, but basically going in a straight line.
Probably doesn't help too, Gary, that even though the racing line is completely dry now, once you do get slightly offline, it is still quite damp and slippery. So Lachlan Fern just finding out how quickly the grip levels deteriorate when you run off the circuit. He's recovered well though, still holding down a very solid second position in behind Frank Amoroso.
And as you can see, like he doesn't lose anything to the bigger trucks in the corners. This is where they're strong, and if you manage to pull them up to get them into the corner, you're the equal of anything around you.
Shannon Smith, though, starting to work away on the back of Robbie Fern. Problems, unfortunately, for Anthony Tringali. Now, that could be residual damage from that big crash that he was involved in the original race start, but the bonnet's actually folded down as well, so Anthony Tringali pulling off to the side of the circuit, trying to get into a safe spot. He might try and limp it back to the pits from there.
Yeah, certainly you would have thought that maybe it's just come unclipped again, or the clips weren't quite, let's say they're probably damaged, so they probably couldn't get the secure fastening that you would like. But certainly racing still going on, and here we see Lockie Fern trying to defend second spot with Shannon Smith coming up right behind him.
And you'd expect this to be the section of the circuit where Shannon Smith would have an advantage, but we've actually got a safety car.
Yeah, it looked to be going a bit slower than I thought coming out of that top corner, and that's the reason why. So we've got a safety car, and it's because of where Tringali is parked at the moment.
So Anthony Tringali not quite able to get that international TranStar back to the pits, and that will require a recovery from our ever hard-working team of volunteer officials here at Winton Motor Raceway. Here's a replay from on board with Anthony Tringali. You can see there that the bonnet was loose, and then under brakes, just folded down. And a good decision there for Anthony Tringali to immediately pull off the track rather than risk sustaining any more severe damage.
Yeah, weight transfer has caused the bonnet to just unfasten itself and go forward, and of course you can't drive it or else it'll end up under the front wheels somewhere.
Been a bit of drama in this race, hasn't there, Gary? We've had red flags, safety cars.
And there it is, parked off to the side of the track, and again the bonnet's back up, but under brakes is where the weight transfer of the truck has caused the bonnet to go forward. So they come around side by side again, and we're going to get a restart for this one. No, we're not. We're going to a checkered flag situation with 4 laps completed.
So ultimately the race finishing under safety car conditions. You get the feeling that there might be a bit for the officials to sort through after that one, just with some of the chaos that unfolded, but we'll no doubt have the official results very shortly. And here are the official results. Shannon Smith has been classified in first place ahead of Robbie Fern and Marcus Prilwitz. The news is that Lockie Fern and Frank Amoroso both overtook under red flags. That's a big no-no, and they've both been excluded from the results. The big talking point down in the pits, though, the incident on lap 1.
I came out of turn 2 to go around Anthony Tringali, and Barry stepped out to go around me. So we were 3 wide. My bumper got stuck behind Barry's rear bumper, so I put my foot on the brakes to try and back out of it, and I couldn't. I was getting dragged, and Anthony came back out. So the left side of my truck hit Anthony's drive or rear tyres, and he was crossed up in front of me, and that's about that really.
All I seen was on top of the bonnet. I was just losing it, and then I seen the bonnet fly open, and that was all I seen. It just went too fast for me. Well, to be honest, I actually thought that I was going to roll over. At one point, I just myself. I was holding on for dear life.
Yeah, it was a bit of a mess. I think I was the innocent third party in that, but anyway, I got caught up in it and destroyed the truck anyway, so it's out for the rest of the day. I was watching them two tangle up. I thought they'll be right out there and I'll just go past them, but no, it didn't happen. They ended up dragging me into it, so never mind.
Some fairly colourful descriptions there down in the pits of what happened in race number 3, and the drama will continue in race number 4 because we've got another reverse grid race that's coming your way on the other side of the break. been a drama-filled third round of the Australian Super Truck Nationals at Winton Motor Raceway, but we've still got one race to go. It's the 10-lap Super Prix. It's the feature race of the weekend, and it's the race where the grid positions are determined based on a reverse grid of qualifying. So the fast trucks will be starting right at the rear of the field. Gary O'Brien and Lachlan Mansell talking you through all of the action, and a few trucks walking a bit wounded for this final race, Gary, and unfortunately, in the case of Barry Butwell, not able to take the start.
Yeah, apparently it broke a harmonic balancer off during that incident. And actually, Steve Zammit was the one that found it, so that was interesting. But apart from being drama, it's been action-packed, hasn't it? There's been a lot going on, a lot to keep this good crowd amused throughout the whole day.
There's certainly been plenty of that. Let's check out the grid positions, and it's young Harvey Dale in the Young Guns Racing Isuzu starting on pole position ahead of Anthony Tringali and Mark Schultz, back to Marcus Prilwitz, Lachlan Fern, Frank Amoroso, Robbie Fern, and our points leader Shannon Smith, who's opening up quite a handy buffer at the front of at the top of the championship order, who will start at the rear of the field.
So far, keeping his nose pretty clean compared to everyone else. Going down through this last set of corners, the S's here on the short circuit at Winton Raceway, and then we'll be underway for 10 laps of more action.
And once again, the Young Guns entry has elected to start at the rear of the field, no doubt due to the inexperience of those drivers. Racing underway, Schultz and Tringali on the run into turn one. They'll go side by side. Look at that, 3 wide with Frank Amoroso through the middle of Marcus Prilwitz, and he's going to get another move done here as he slides up the inside of Anthony Tringali. Brilliant start. That just goes to show Frank Amoroso's experience, carving his way up through the field. He'll get to the lead by the time they hit turn 3.
That's amazing. What a good job. And when Frank gets his eyes set, there's no one going to stop him. So he leads the 2 Isuzus round halfway through the first track. Smith in 4th, then it's Prilwitz, Robbie Fern, then it's young Dale, and at the back, is that Shannon Smith at the back?
Indeed it is, so not a great start for our points leader, but you can probably forgive Shannon Smith for being a bit conservative. He's seen so much drama and a bit of damage in the last couple of races. The last thing that he needs with his points position the way it is to get involved in any tangles and risk a non-finish.
Well, he's got 10 laps really to find his way through this field. There he goes past Harvey Dale already, so that's 1 out of the way. There's only another 7 or 8 to go.
Frank Amoroso will be highly motivated to come out on top in this race. For those of you who've just joined us, both Frank Amoroso and Lachlan Fern excluded from the results of race number 3 for an infringement, passing under red flag conditions, despite the fact that they actually crossed the finish line in first and second positions for that race, as we see Shannon Smith making another move on the inside of Anthony Tringali, who cops a bit of a tap from young Harvey Dale and gets sideways on the exit of turn 1.
So Tringali's basically gone from first to last, or effectively last, in a matter of a lap. Unfortunately for him, that truck still has a lot of suspension work to get done on it. Here the 2 Isuzus battling for second and third. They're battling well and truly, and Schultz, new on the scene, only second round, and Lachlan Fern, who's been around for quite a while now in the series, is just getting quicker and quicker at each outing.
And they're just ahead of Marcus Prilwitz in the sole remaining Max Superliner, and you can see that there's still some damage to Prilwitz's truck. The front left-hand corner looks like it's had a shark bite, such as the damage to that truck, but it's performing okay at the moment. Robbie Fern, though, lining up for a move on Prilwitz as they come down the back straight. Prilwitz on the defensive, brakes later, holds the inside line, makes sure that Robbie Fern has no overtaking opportunity. And in the background there as well, you can see Harvey Dale and Anthony Tringali going at it as well.
Yeah, and Tringali gets that spot back. I think he lost it momentarily, but then does get it back. This little dice going on in between Prilwitz and Fern has allowed Smith to come into the fight as well, and as they duke it out, he's just waiting for the opportunity. He won't want to be doing it here, because the last time we see someone try to go around 2 people or 2 trucks fighting it out, it didn't come out all that well. But he goes for the outside move at the turn 3 sweeper, and he'll probably run out of road there, so he'll settle in behind again.
Hard enough to make an outside overtaking manoeuvre through the sweeper in a normal race car, let alone one of these big super trucks. And once again, Prilwitz running these defensive lines. We've seen this on a few occasions throughout this year that Marcus Primwitz can be pretty hard to get past, and just to throw another variable into the mix, that looks like a few sprinkles of rain on the windscreen of Shannon Smith's truck as well, so some unpredictable weather conditions just to keep all of these drivers on their toes.
Yeah, at this stage, not likely to affect the result. Now Fern gets a run down the inside of Primwitz, but not quite close enough to do anything as they come down to those S's again to complete another lap.
All this is working beautifully for Frank Amoroso. He's built up a nice buffer over his rivals at this stage, and trucks that might have had the pace to challenge Amoroso for the lead are all having their own squabbles a bit further down the order. As we see, Smith goes to the inside of Robbie Fern, pulls out, nice move under brakes, job done, well done. That's another position gained.
Well, every position means extra points in the championship, and he's obviously targeting his first, and he just needs to keep going and not getting any problems, but also get past these other trucks.
And the other thing as well, Gary, is with the DNFs and the exclusions for some of the other drivers in the field, Shannon Smith's in a pretty good position to challenge for the round win.
Well, that's probably more important at this stage because they've still got a round to go after this. So here he is trying to get past Pilrich in the Mac, and tries on the inside there. Not successful in the truck unless you can squeeze it back on the other side coming out of that corner. But Pilrich takes the tight line to make sure that he can't just slip under him and then try and get alongside down the straight. So as Smith now has the only option is to go down the outside, and can he pull it up in time to get around the corner? No, he can't. That's typical of that type of move. Prilwitz covering his lines very well.
Once again, Prilwitz driving those really, really shallow racing lines. You can see that he holds the inside and then he slows it up at the apex of the corner as well to prevent the other driver from being able to get a run at him out of the corner. Bit of a lock-up from Prilwitz, and both he and Shannon Smith go off the road at turn number 1. I think there's probably a bit of moisture down there at that stage as well, but Smith manages to get back on ahead of Prilwitz, and that will relegate Prilwitz back a couple of spots.
Yeah, I think Prilwitz just went for the late break, and unfortunately it was just too far into the corner, and Smith was trying to go around the outside. There was a tag.
And it's on in the battle for the light truck brigade as well. Lachlan Fern getting up the inside of Mark Schutz. That's at turn number 1. We saw a big understeer moment for Lachlan Fern in the previous race, but this time he gets the truck pulled up and turned in nicely for that first corner.
Schultz from the camera inside his truck just sees Fern go down the inside. And here's this replay of the move down at turn number 1, where Prilwitz just went a bit wide, left his braking a little bit too late. It not only put Smith off the track, but allowed Fern to get past the pair of them. In the rear of Prilwitz's Mac, you can see exactly what we've seen from the outside earlier, and you can see Smith got back on the track a little bit quicker, had a bit more grip by getting onto the bitumen ahead of the Mac.
And because Prilwitz was to the extreme inside of the circuit there wouldn't have been as much grip when he jumped on the brakes, so the truck wouldn't have pulled up as effectively as what he might have been expecting, and that's why he ended up going off the racetrack altogether.
So Fern's pulled out quite a margin on Schultz just on one lap, considering they passed down here just one lap earlier. Quite a gap between the pair of them now, so maybe Schultz has had a little bit of a drama or a mishap somewhere around the track. Now he can see the bigger truck, the bigger Fern machine coming on him, so he probably did the right thing. He's certainly eyeballing that mirror and make sure that he gives him a bit of space whenever it's appropriate.
You would have to say though, Gary, that this has been one of the most competitive performances that we've seen from the light trucks for quite a while. You'll remember that Steve Coulter was very good when he was racing in the super trucks, and he actually got some outright race victories in the Isuzu, but young Lachlan Fern and also Mark Schultz definitely showing the potential that if things go their way, they can run right towards the front of the field in terms of the outright placings.
Well, short straights, lots of corners certainly helped the Isuzu. Maybe not so much the wet weather, but certainly in dry conditions, you would think they could take it up to the big trucks. We're inside Lachlan Fern at the moment, and he's got daylight in front of him and daylight behind him.
He's doing a stellar job at the moment, Lachlan Fern. Second place outright behind Frank Amoroso. He's punching out some very, very solid and consistent lap times. His best lap of the race has only been a couple of tenths slower than our outright leader, Frank Amoroso. The fastest overall lap of the race has just been set by Shannon Smith at 1 minute 16.9.
Yeah, well, it'll be deja vu for Smith because he had to go through this all a couple of laps earlier before that little incident down at turn 1, and now he's got to do it all over again, getting past Robbie Fern is what I'm talking about, and we're quite close to doing it at the moment, but can you get it done and split the two Ferns at the moment because they're running second and third?
Robbie Fern will make Shannon Smith work very hard for this positional lock-up as they head through turn number 7. Smith almost, but not quite, able to get down the inside. And these are the top two in the championship, so there are points at stake depending on who comes out on top in this battle for position.
Down through the S's again. As you can see, pretty well line ball. There's not a lot you can do in the middle of those corners unless you attempt to go around the outside very early on or down the inside in the braking area as well. But here's another good passing opportunity, not quite close enough, but pretty close to giving him a tap that time, and ran a little bit wide on the exit. I think he left his braking just a little bit late, and it's probably cost him about a second, I would imagine, towards getting to Robbie Fern at this point.
Started a bit too hot there, didn't he? Meanwhile, here's our race leader, Frank Amoroso, who's opened up a handy margin at the front of the field. They did a big rebuilding exercise on the number 96 Fate Racing Kenworth for this season. They stripped a lot of weight out of it, and Frank Amoroso, since he's come back into the super truck category this season, he's been really competitive. We saw him win that spectacular championship in 2014 that came right down to the wire. Not in championship contention this year, Frank Amoroso, but certainly a contender for race victories.
Yeah, while he was getting that rebuild done, they didn't get a finish in time for round 1, and so they thought, well, let's go up anyway and keep an eye on things, see who's going to be quick, and then we can come back and certainly put in the rest of the season, which they have done. And you know that Frank, when he won that championship, I've never seen anyone more emotional about winning a championship in my life, but he's been around the sport since it started here in the late 80s, and has been basically a participant every year since.
Took him a long, long time to win his first championship, so you could understand the flood of emotions, the overwhelming relief when he finally managed to secure his maiden title after the battle with Stephen Zammit that came right down to the very last race of the season. And Frank Amoroso, now that he's got a nice lead in this race, starting to have a bit of fun, starting to throw the truck around a little bit. You could say that he just had a bit of a brake lock-up there up at turn number 7.
It's a good opportunity for him to test the limits of the truck because, speaking of testing the limits, Shannon Smith did look like he wanted to have a go at Fern on that occasion, but got it all untidy, and again, it's cost him time.
Shannon Smith just needs to keep his head here. That's a couple of times now that he's made mistakes while trying to get past Robbie Fern. He just needs to put his head down, focus, plan where he might be able to make an overtaking manoeuvre. Shannon Smith and Robbie Fern could well turn out to be the two drivers who end up battling for the championship in the final round of this season, so it's all to play for when it comes to which one of those two drivers finishes higher.
Well, here's Frank Amoroso just negotiating the final circuit for the weekend, well out in front, but still this battle goes on for position number 3 between Robbie Fern and Shannon Smith, and not much of an opportunity left now if Shannon Smith wants to get past and get into third spot.
I reckon probably the end of the back straight is going to be Shannon Smith's best opportunity. If he can get a good run out of turn 7 on this final lap and look to try and get track position on the inside of Robbie Fern when they head into the braking zone for those final 3 corners, that'll be the best spot for Smith to make the manoeuvre. One driver who doesn't have to worry about overtaking or being overtaken for that matter is Frank Amoroso. And this race win, it was all set up, wasn't it, Gary, with the brilliant start, the fact that he was able to fight his way to the front of the field so quickly, and he's had clear track for the rest of the race.
Well, he made clear track for himself too, didn't he? Was forceful, but not overly forceful. And here he comes through the final sequence of corners to take what will be a well-deserved victory.
So excluded from race number 3, but bounces back in race number 4. The Super Prix winner at Winton goes the way of Frank Amoroso for Fate Racing. And what a great performance, Lockie Fern, his best race result, second outright in the Isuzu, ahead of his dad Robbie Fern, who manages to come home ahead of Shannon Smith, who banks more valuable points with 4th position and will head to the final round with a handy lead. Mark Schutz, the next one through, in 5th position, second best of the light trucks. And then we'll go back to this great battle, which is going to come right down to the last couple of corners. Marcus Prilwitz ahead of young Harvey Dale and Anthony Trigalis to round out our finishers.
Very tight result between those three.
A big crowd lining the fence at Winton, giving all of our super truck drivers a big round of applause as they greet the checkered flag. And young Harvey Dale, he definitely improved as the weekend progressed, so looking forward to seeing more of him and the other young guns in that team in the future. But Amoroso, your race winner ahead of the 2 Ferns. Shannon Smith wins the round by coming home in 4th position.
Yeah, then we got Mark Schultz in 5th, Marcus Prilwitz in 6th, Dale and Tringali round out the field.
Yeah, very good actually. I don't know, fifth from the front or something, and I thought I got to get to the front here and just kept my head down and bum up, and we brought it on home.
I was gone from the 5-speed manual to a 4-speed auto, a lot quicker on boost all the time, which is good. Gave me 2 seconds per lap from last time we were here. It's heaps more competitive this time. It's good.
No, exactly. Yeah, no, it was good, and the truck went pretty well. You know, considering what it's gone through the last 2 weeks, we're pretty happy with it.
Let's have a look at the championship points after the first 3 rounds, and it's Shannon Smith who will carry a 37-point advantage over Robbie Fern heading into the 4th and final round of the season. Marcus Prilwitz in 3rd, Barry Butwell, a bit of a tough weekend for him, ends up 4th in the points, and Frank Amoroso rounding out the top 5 in the standings with 1 round remaining. So Gary, a bit of controversy, a bit of chaos, but plenty of awesome racing in this weekend's Super Truck encounter.
I'm really looking forward to the final round. Will there be some scores to settle? Where will the action stop?
The action won't stop at Wakefield Park when the trucks head there for the final round on the 23rd and the 24th of November. Can Shannon Smith prevail and take his first national Super Truck title? Find out the answer to that question when the series resumes at Wakefield Park. Thanks for your company. On behalf of Gary O'Brien, I'm Lockie Mansell. See you next time.
There's more to come after the break as we head to the streets of Bern in Switzerland for the 11th round of the FIA Formula E Championship, the Swiss E Prix.